and you came back on the 1st of January, that would be the first date that you would put on there. They also want to know, and these are things you're going to have to calculate. So it would help if you do the calculations, have those listed, put them on a separate piece of paper before you go to the drive. So once you go there, it's like 1, 2, 3 because you already have everything that you need. You have to count how many days you spent outside the US for the past 3 years if you're doing it as if it's a spousal relationship that's causing you to become a US citizen. If it's parental, then 5 years. You're going to count how many days you spent outside the US. Days meaning 24 hours. So if it's more than half that you spent outside the US, then you're gonna have an issue, more or less. I'm not saying that that is going to be an automatic denial or you shouldn't go. I'm just letting you know what the requirements are. So if you've spent more than half of the time, I would say still go, hear what the professionals who are there have to say. If you have everything else, all your documentations, and this is the only thing, because travel is a big thing. I know for some people when they're transitioning, it's not all at once, especially if you've built a life from at the country where you're coming from. If you have a life there, you have children back home, you have a business to run, then you have to be back and forth a lot. Still go and talk with the persons who are there. It's completely free. And like I said, it's a month-to-month basis. So they're there now. We don't want to wait to say, okay, we'll go in March. Another reason you don't want to go is that the fees that I mentioned before, the filing fees, the bill, they already passed it, that the fee is going to be increased. And it's going to move from $725 to $1,170. That is a huge jump. If you're having a hard time coming up with $725, which you might go out to the citizenship drive and they waive that fee for you, you might qualify. Think about how much harder it's going to be to come up with $1,170. Like, just think about it. If your intentions are to be here, to live here, these are things that you have to take into consideration because it's getting harder and harder to do so. Your waiver, the waiver that I mentioned, for you to be eligible, it's now only based on income and household size. So if you're having a hard time because you just don't make enough, that's all the more reason for you to go, because the provisions have already been made for you to get those fees waived. Plus you get the assistance from people. Like, this is what they do. They're there once a month, every month, for God knows however long, and they know what they're doing. Go out there, get your documents together. I'm going to give you a list of the documents that you need to take with you. Get your documents together, go out there, talk to them. So you meet the requirements. You've lived in the US for the better part of 3 to 5 years. 3 years if it's a spousal arrangement. 5 years if it's parental, which means your mother or father filed for you. Spousal mean you got married, your wife or your husband filed for you. So what to bring? You're going to bring a list of your home address for the last 5 or 3 years. And again, I say 5 or 3 years because if it's wife or husband, 3 parental 5. So everywhere you've lived for the last 5 years, I'm just going to go with 5 years just to make it more understandable for everyone, because if you're going on your spousal and you bring 5 years, you just bring more than you need to, but you'll be okay. So I'm just going to go with 5 years. So if you've lived in 3 different places for the last 5 years, they're going to need that information. They're going to need the date you moved in, the date you moved out, everything starting with the most recent. So you're going to actually start with where you're living now. So you need to have those dates together. What I'm giving you is a list of what you need to make it easier for you should you go there. It's 1, 2, 3. All your documents are going to be ready to go. You're not going to be sent back to go figure stuff out and come back, because you will already have what they need. So what you need the list of your address or addresses. So if you've lived in the same place since you've come here, the 10 years, then that's all you'll need, because that's the only address for the last 5 years. You need your green card and all passports. So say for instance, when you got here, you only had a year or 2 on your passport. You've renewed it. You need to bring the old passport as well. But you need to have a current passport. Your documents that you're using to file cannot be expired. Your passport cannot be expired. Your green card cannot be expired. But you need the expired passports to get the records and send them as well. So you need to bring the expired passport, all of them, the current and the expired, your green card that is not expired, your employment history or school history for the past 5 years, your children's information. And let me explain this for you. If you married Tom and Tom has children, you're filing your citizenship. They're not your children. In the US, stepchildren, they don't see step. They're now your children. That's the unit of the family. They're now your children. So bring the information for Tom's kids, because you have to put them on there. All the children in the family. For the children, even if they're grown, if they're 50 years old, if they're 10, if they're 2 months, you're going to bring their date of birth, their addresses. So even if they don't live with you, if they live with you, you're going to need their current address. You don't need to bring the record of their addresses, their previous addresses. That's just for you. You need the 5-year record of everywhere you've lived for the last 5 years. But for your children or your spouse's children, you need to bring the address, their current address. You need to bring that. Their A number. If they're permanent residents themselves, you need to have their A number. The A number is found on the green card. It says A number on it. So you need that for all the children in the family, whether they're your biological children or through marriage, you need to bring that as well. Tax returns for everyone in your home, 2018, 2019. So we're in 2020 right now. I would say the last 3 years tax return. So you would do 19, 18, 17. You're going to bring those records with you. And you're going to, because you will need to submit that in order for you to qualify. I am really hoping that at least one person needs this information, because I would hate for you to be there. This is what you need. Go check on your stuff. Go check on your green card. Go check on your passport. Ask your friends if they've migrated here. Ask them. You don't even have to, be intrusive. Just find out from them if this is information that they could use, and let them know. So you're going to need your tax returns. When they say for everyone in the household, it's every adult, because of course the children would be dependent on the parents' tax returns. So if you and your husband file jointly, then there'll only be one tax return. So you only need to present that. If you have a son, or if your husband, if Tom has a son, an adult son, meaning over 21, and he lives with you, he's going to school, he has a job, he files taxes, because you could claim someone on your tax and they still file their own tax. So if he filed his own taxes, then you need to submit tax returns for that child also. As long as the child's over 18, you need to present tax returns.